Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this rest and relax reading. Even though my voice is really crazy from all the pollen here in Ohio, it's really bad right now, but I'm committed to reading the Bible and I hope that you benefit from this rest and relax reading. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm looking for 1,000 subscribers and be sure to like my videos. I appreciate it so much. We're at Judges 9. One day Gideon's son Abimelech visited his uncles, his mother's brothers, in Shechem. "Go and talk to the leaders of Shechem," he requested, "and ask them whether they want to be ruled by 70 kings, Gideon's 70 sons, or by one man, meaning me, your own flesh and blood." So his uncles went to the leaders of the city and proposed Abimelech's scheme, and they decided that since his mother was a native of their town, they would go along with it. They gave him money from the temple offerings of the idol Baal Berith, which he used to hire some worthless loafers who agreed to do whatever he told them to. He took them to his father's home in Ophrah, and there, upon one stone, they slaughtered all 70 of his half brothers, except for the youngest, Jotham, who escaped and hid. Then the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo called a meeting under the oak beside the garrison at Shechem, and Abimelech was acclaimed king of Israel. When Jotham heard about this, he stood at the top of Mount Gerizim and shouted across to the men of Shechem, "If you want God's blessing, listen to me. Once upon a time the trees decided to elect a king. First they asked the olive tree, but it refused. Should I quit producing the olive oil that blesses God and man just to wave to and fro over the other trees?" it asked. Then they said to the fig tree, "You be our king." But the fig tree also refused. "Should I quit producing sweetness and fruit just to lift my head above all the other trees?" it asked. They then said to the grapevine, "You reign over us." But the grapevine replied, "Shall I quit producing the wine that cheers both God and man just to be mightier than all the other trees?" Then all the trees finally turned to the thorn bush. "You be our king," they exclaimed. And the thorn bush replied, "If you really want me, come and humble yourselves beneath my shade. If you refuse, let fire flame forth from me and burn down the great cedars of Lebanon. Now make sure that you have done the right thing in making Abimelech your king, that you have done right by Gideon and all of his descendants. For my father fought for you and risked his life and delivered you from the Midianites. Yet you have revolted against him and killed his 70 sons upon one stone. And now you have chosen his slave girl's son, Abimelech, to be your king just because he is your relative. If you're sure that you have done right by Gideon and his descendants, then may you and Abimelech have a long and happy life together. But if you have not been fair to Gideon, then may Abimelech destroy the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo, and may they destroy Abimelech." Then Jotham escaped and lived in Beer for fear of his brother Abimelech. 3 years later, God stirred up trouble between King Abimelech and the citizens of Shechem, and they revolted. In the events that followed, both Abimelech and the citizens of Shechem, who aided him in butchering Gideon's 70 sons, were given their just punishment for these murders. For the men of Shechem set an ambush for Abimelech along the trail at the top of the mountain. While they were waiting for him to come along, they robbed everyone else who passed that way, but someone warned Abimelech about their plot. At that time, Gaal, the son of Ebed, moved to Shechem with his brothers, and he became one of the leading citizens. During the harvest feast at Shechem that year, held in the temple of the local god, the wine flowed freely, and everyone began cursing Abimelech. "Who is Abimelech?" Gaal shouted, "and why should he be our king? Why should we be his servants? He and his friend Zebul should be our servants. Down with Abimelech. Make me your king, and you'll soon see what happens to Abimelech. I'll tell Abimelech, get up an army and come on out and fight." But when Zebul, the mayor of the city, heard that what Gaal was saying, he was furious. He sent messengers to Abimelech in Arumen, telling him, "Gaal, son of Ebed, and his relatives have come to live in Shechem, and now they are arousing the city to rebellion against you. Come by night with an army and hide out in the fields, and in the morning, as soon as it is daylight, storm the city. When he and those who are with him come out against you, you can do with them as you wish." So Abimelech and his men marched through the night and split into 4 groups, stationing themselves around the city. The next morning, as Gaul sat at the city gates discussing various issues with the local leaders, Abimelech and his men began their march upon the city. When Gaul saw them, he exclaimed to Zebul, "Look over at that mountain. Doesn't it look like people coming down?" "No," Zebul said. "You're just seeing shadows that look like men." "No, look over there," Gaul said. "I'm sure I see people coming towards us. And look, there are others coming along the road past the oak of Meonamin." Then Zebul turned on him triumphantly. "Now where is that big mouth of yours?" he demanded. "Who was it who said, 'Who is Abimelech, and why should he be our king?' The men you taunted and cursed are right outside the city. Go on out and fight." So Gaul led the men of Shechem into the battle and fought with Abimelech, but was defeated, and many of the men of Shechem were left wounded all the way to the city gate. Abimelech was living in Arumah at this time, and Zebul drove Gaul and his relatives out of Shechem and wouldn't let them live there any longer. The next day the men of Shechem went out to battle again. However, some had told Abimelech about their plans. So he had divided his men into 3 groups, hiding in the fields. And when the men of the city went out to attack, he and his men jumped up from their hiding places and began killing them. Abimelech stormed the city gate to keep the men of Shechem from getting back in, while his other 2 groups cut them down in the fields. The battle went on all day before Abimelech finally captured the city, killed its people, and leveled it to the ground. The people at the nearby town of Migdol saw what was happening and took refuge in the fort next to the temple of Baal Berith. When Abimelech learned of this, he led his forces to Mount Zalmon, where he began chopping a bundle of firewood and placed it upon his shoulder. "Do as I have done," he told his men. So each of them quickly cut a bundle and carried it back to the town, where, following Abimelech's example, the bundles were piled against the walls of the fort and set on fire. So all the people inside died, about 1,000 men and women. Abimelech next attacked the city of Thebez and captured it. However, there was a fort inside the city, and the entire population fled into it, barricaded the gates, and climbed to the top of the roof to watch. But as Abimelech was preparing to burn it, a woman on the roof threw down a millstone. It landed on Abimelech's head, crushing his skull. "Kill me," he groaned to his youthful armor-bearer. "Never let it be said that a woman killed Abimelech." So the young man pierced him with his sword, and he died. When his men saw that he was dead, they disbanded and returned to their homes. Thus God punished both Abimelech and the men of Shechem for their sin of murdering Gideon's 70 sons. So the curse of Jotham, Gideon's son, came true. After Abimelech's death, the next judge of Israel was Tola, son of Puah and grandson of Dodo. He was from the tribe of Issachar, but lived in the city of Shamir in the hill country of Ephraim. He was Israel's judge for 23 years. When he died, he was buried in Shamir and was succeeded by Jair, a man from Gilead, who judged Israel for 22 years. His 30 sons rode around together on 30 donkeys, and they owned 30 cities in the land of Gilead, which are still called the cities of Jair. When Jair died, he was buried in Canaan. Then the people of Israel turned away from the Lord again, surprise, and worshipped the heathen gods Baal and Ashtaroth, and the gods of Syria, Sidon, Moab, Ammon, and Philistia. Not only this, but they no longer worshipped Jehovah at all. This made Jehovah very angry with his people, so he immediately permitted the Philistines and the Ammonites to begin tormenting them. These attacks took place east of the Jordan River in the land of the Amorites, that is, in Gilead, and also in Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim. For the Ammonites crossed the Jordan to attack the Israelis. This went on for 18 years. Finally, the Israelis turned to Jehovah again and begged him to save them. "We have sinned against you and have forsaken you as our God and have worshipped idols," they confessed. But the Lord replied, "Didn't I save you from the Egyptians, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Maonites? Has there ever been a time when you cried out to me that I haven't rescued you? Yet you continue to abandon me and to worship other gods. So go away. I won't save you any more. Go and cry to the new gods you have chosen. Let them save you in your hour of distress." But they pleaded with him again and said, "We have sinned. Punish us in any way you think best. Only save us once more from our enemies." Then they destroyed their foreign gods and worshipped only the Lord, and he was grieved by their misery. The armies of Ammon were mobilized in Gilead at that time, preparing to attack Israel's army at Mizpah. "Who will lead our forces against the Ammonites?" the leaders of Gilead asked each other. "Whoever volunteers shall be our king." Now Zephath was a great warrior from the land of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. His father, whose name was Gilead, had several other sons by his legitimate wife, and when these half brothers grew up, they chased Jephthah out of the country. "You son of a whore," they said, "you'll not get any of our father's estate." So Jephthah fled from his father's home and lived in the land of Tob. Soon he had quite a band of malcontents as his followers, living off the land as bandits. It was about this time that the Ammonites began their war against Israel. The leaders of Gilead sent for Jephthah, begging him to come and lead their army against the Ammonites. But Jephthah said to them, "Why do you come to me when you hate me and have driven me out of my father's house? Why come now when you're in trouble?" "Because we need you," they replied. "If you will be our commander in chief against the Ammonites, we will make you the king of Gilead." "Sure," Jephthah exclaimed. "Do you expect me to believe that?" "We swear it," they replied. "We promise with a solemn oath." So Jephthah accepted the commission and was made commander in chief and king. The contract was ratified before the Lord in Mizpah at a general assembly of all the people. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the king of Ammon, demanding to know why Israel was being attacked. The king of Ammon replied that the land belonged to the people of Ammon. It had been stolen from them, he said, when the Israelites came from Egypt. The whole territory from the Arnon River to the Jabbok and the Jordan was his, he claimed. "Give us back our land peaceably," he demanded. Jephthah replied, "Israel did not steal the land. What happened was this: when the people of Israel arrived at Kadesh on their journey from Egypt after crossing the Red Sea, they sent a message to the king of Edom asking permission to pass through his land, but their petition was denied. Then they asked the king of Moab for similar permission. It was the same story there, so the people of Israel stayed in Kadesh. Finally, they went around Edom and Moab through the wilderness and traveled along the eastern border until at last they arrived beyond the boundary of Moab at the Arnon River. But they never once crossed into Moab. Then Israel sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and asked permission to cross through his land to get to their destination. But King Sihon didn't trust Israel, so he mobilized an army at Jahaz and attacked them. But the Lord our God helped Israel defeat King Sihon and all your people. So Israel took over all of your land from the Arnon River to the Jabbok, and from the wilderness to the Jordan River. So you see, it was the Lord God of Israel who took away the land from the Amorites and gave it to Israel. Why then should we return it to you? You keep whatever your God Chemosh gives you, and we will keep whatever Jehovah, our God, gives us. And besides, just who do you think you are? Are you better than King Balak, the king of Moab? Did he try to recover his land after Israel defeated him? No, of course not. But now, after 300 years, you make an issue of this. Israel has been living here for all that time, spread across the land from Heshbon to Aroer and all along the Arnon River. Why have you made no effort to recover it before now? No, I have not sinned against you. Rather, you have wronged me by coming to war against me. But Jehovah, the judge, will soon show which of us is right, Israel or Ammon. But the king of Ammon paid no attention to Jephthah's message. At that time the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he led his army across the land of Gilead and Manasseh, past Mizpah in Gilead, and attacked the army of Ammon. Meanwhile, Jephthah had vowed to the Lord that if God would help Israel conquer the Ammonites, then, when returning home in peace, the first person coming out of his house to meet him would be sacrificed as a burnt offering to the Lord. So Jephthah led his army against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave him the victory. He destroyed the Ammonites with a terrible slaughter all the way from Aror to Minnith, including 20 cities and as far away as Vineyard Meadow. Thus the Ammonites were subdued by the people of Israel. When Jephthah returned home, his daughter, his only child, ran out to meet him, playing on a tambourine and dancing for joy. When he saw her, he tore his clothes in anguish. "Alas, my daughter," he cried out, "you have brought me to the dust, for I have made a vow to the Lord, and I cannot take it back." And she said, "Father, you must do whatever you promised the Lord, for he has given you a great victory over your enemies, the Ammonites. But first let me go up into the hills and roam with my girlfriends for 2 months, weeping because I'll never marry." "Yes," he said, "go." And so she did, bewailing her fate with her friends for 2 months. Then she returned to her father, who did as he had vowed. So she was never married. And after that, it became a custom in Israel that the young girls went away for 4 days each year to lament the fate of Jephthah's daughter. Then the tribe of Ephraim mobilized its army at Zaphon and sent this message to Jephthah: "Why didn't you call for us to help you fight against Ammon? We are going to burn down your house with you in it." "I summoned you, but you refused to come," Jephthah retorted. "You failed to help us in our time of need. So I risked my life and went to battle without you, and the Lord helped me to conquer the enemy. Is that anything for you to fight us about?" Then Jephthah, furious at the taunt of Ephraim that the men of Gilead were mere outcasts and the scum of the earth, mobilized his army and attacked the army of Ephraim. He captured the fords of the Jordan behind the army of Ephraim, and whenever a fugitive from Ephraim tried to cross the river, the Gilead guards challenged him. "Are you a member of the tribe of Ephraim?" they asked. If the man replied that he was not, then they demanded, "Say Shibboleth." But if he couldn't pronounce the H and said Sibboleth instead of Shibboleth, he was dragged away and killed. So 42,000 people of Ephraim died there at the time. Jephthah was Israel's judge for 6 years. At his death, he was buried in one of the cities of Gilead. The next judge was Ibzan, who lived in Bethlehem. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. He married his daughter to men outside his clan and brought in 30 girls to marry his sons. He judged Israel for 7 years before he died and was buried at Bethlehem. The next judge was Elon from Zebulun. He judged Israel for 10 years and was buried at Ajalon in Zebulun. Next was Abdon, son of Hillel from Pirathon. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons. He rode on 70 donkeys. He was Israel's judge for 8 years. Then he died, and he was buried in Pirathon in Ephraim, in the hill country of the Amalekites. Once again, Israel sinned by worshiping other gods, so the Lord let them be conquered by the Philistines, who kept them in subjection for 40 years. Then one day the angel of the Lord appeared to the wife of Manoah of the tribe of Dan, who lived in the city of Zorah. She had no children, but the angel said to her, "Even though you have been barren so long, you will soon conceive and have a son. Don't drink any wine or beer, and don't eat any food that isn't kosher. Your son's hair must never be cut, for he shall be a Nazarite, a special servant of God from the time of his birth, and he will begin to rescue Israel from the Philistines." The woman ran and told her husband, "A man from God appeared to me, and I think he must be the angel of the Lord, for he was almost too glorious to look at. I didn't ask where he was from, and he didn't tell me his name, but he told me, 'You're going to have a baby boy,' and he told me not to drink any wine or beer and not to eat food that isn't kosher, for the baby is going to be a Nazarite. He will be dedicated to God from the moment of his birth until the day of his death." Then Manoah prayed, "O Lord, please let the man from God come back to us again and give us more instructions about the child you're going to give us." The Lord answered his prayer, and the angel of God appeared once again to his wife as she was sitting in the field. But again she was alone. Manoah was not with her. So she quickly ran and found her husband and told him, "The same man is here again." Manoah ran back with his wife and asked, "Are you the man who talked to my wife the other day?" "Yes," he replied, "I am." So Manoah asked him, "Can you give us any special instructions about how we should raise the baby after he's born?" And the angel replied, "Be sure that your wife follows the instructions I gave her. She must not eat grapes or raisins, or drink any wine or beer, or eat anything that isn't kosher. Then Manoah said to the angel, "Please stay here until we can get you something to eat." "I'll stay," the angel replied, "but I'll not eat anything. However, if you wish to bring something, bring an offering to sacrifice to the Lord." Manoah didn't yet realize that he was the angel of the Lord. Then Manoah asked him for his name. "When all this comes true and the baby's born," he said to the angel, "we will certainly want to tell everyone that you predicted it." "Don't even ask my name," the angel replied, "for it is a secret." Then Manoah took a young goat and a grain offering and offered it as a sacrifice to the Lord. And the angel did a strange and wonderful thing, for as the flames from the altar were leaping up towards the sky, and as Manoah and his wife watched, the angel ascended in the fire. Manoah and his wife fell face downward to the ground, and that was the last they ever saw of him. It was then that Manoah finally realized that it had been the angel of the Lord. "We will die," Manoah cried out to his wife, "for we have seen God." But his wife said, "If the Lord were going to kill us, he wouldn't have accepted our burnt offerings and wouldn't have appeared to us and told us this wonderful thing and done these miracles." When her son was born, they named him Samson, and the Lord blessed him as he grew up. And the Spirit of the Lord began to excite him whenever he visited the parade grounds or the army of the tribe of Dan, located between the cities of Zorah and Eshtaol. So that is as far as we're reading today. The next video will be Judges 14. And thank you for joining me. God bless you.